What is up, guys? How are we all doing? Hope all well. Today we're back again with another Kevin Samuels review, one of his videos. And today we're talking about whether or not black women's image is their responsibility and their concern. Without further ado, let's get straight into it.
I don't believe that we do control any of.
Really?
No, I don't. Because I put it to you like this: the women who are the woman that just left, she doesn't represent me as a black woman.
Sure she does.
No, she doesn't. How does she represent? She has nothing to do with me. I don't know anyone like her.
Excuse me. Because there's something called an ethnic image, and it's what it is. She is a microcosm of everything. If I told you 5'6" and knows martial arts, you wouldn't think an African. You would think Chinese. There's an ethnic image, and the ethnic image of a black woman is the sapphire, the nail Carter. To give me a break, the short, fat, sassy, strong, independent. That's the ethnic image.
You see, this is the thing. It's not politically correct or diplomatic to say or even talk about people's ethnic image. The fact is, it is a real thing. When you think of Caucasians, you think of one thing. When you think of Latinos, you think of another thing. When you think of South Asians, you think of a certain image. When you think of Eastern Europeans, you have a certain image. These things are real and they exist, but it's not politically correct to talk about them. So you get all this virtue signaling saying, "Oh yeah, we don't have a ethnic image. Oh, it's not existent. That woman doesn't represent me." Of course, on an individual basis, your ethnic image doesn't represent you as an individual on every single case. But in general, when you think about a certain ethnicity, certain things come to mind. As he was saying before, with the whole 5'6" or 7" person that knows martial arts, it makes you think of an Asian, because that's what we know of Jackie Chan and all these other movies. That's what we think of. Anyway, back to it.
And the part you say you don't control the media. Well, what is Ebony, Essence, Madame Noir, Grapevine, Fox?
Black women don't own any of those things.
Excuse me, but who's running them? Who owns them and who runs them? Who's sitting? No. See, what you're going to try to do is play the ownership game. Who is sitting in the chairs on these programs?
It's white executives who make the decision.
It's like kryptonite.
I'm sorry?
Accountability is like kryptonite.
I have no problem taking accountability for anything that I do. I can speak for myself.
Well, the thing is, we're not just speaking about you, because if you speak about you can deflect for anything. I said black female image, not you.
But you brought up accountability. And I'm not discrediting or taking away anything from what we do and what we perpetuate, but it's also the image that we are shown.
No, it's not shown. Okay.
It's programmed.
Sandra Rhimes. Why do we have? She wrote Scandal.
She wrote Scandal, but it had to get clear.
Hold on. No. They're going to do whatever makes money. They're going to do what they're going to. And back up, but who they write it for? And who consumed it?
They are the black.
Who did they write it for? And who consumed it?
But listen to me. Black people, they're not writing for the black. No, they're writing for the black.
We've already covered it. First off, that over talking to me won't work. That won't work here.
Because you're throwing assumptions.
That won't work here. That won't work here.
Okay, sir.
That's one thing that won't work. We can try to have a conversation, but you cannot overtalk me. I allow that with no one. You didn't answer my question, and you're going on to another point. That's not okay. I asked you, who is it written for?
And this is the hard thing about watching a lot of these conversations, because a lot of the time these women come in to battle him. They don't come in to debate him. They come in here to attack him, battle him, try and throw him off mark, throw him off guard, and just spew out their emotions. And they never want to debate the point. That is the bottom line of the majority, if not all, of these conversations, is that these women never come in to debate the point. It's always how he delivers it, how they feel when he says things. They never come in to debate the precise points he makes. And this is the issue that he has, is that these women are always in their feelings and never willing to debate him on the issues that he's bringing up and raising. And that's why it always leads to the sign language. Oh, your mama black, you gay, this, that. You don't say it nice. Maybe you should say it this way. Instead of, this is what you're saying, this is what I believe, this is why I think what you're saying is wrong. And a healthy, constructive debate. But this is why they always end up embarrassing themselves and making themselves look silly, because they never want to debate the actual issue. It's always an emotionally led argument.
Sandra Ryan, Scandal, Love and Hip Hop, all these things. Who are they looking for? Who are they written for? What audience?
For the Black audience.
Thank you.
Okay. But again, if we are not choosing what goes on the air, because they're not finding all content for Black people, it's a certain type of content for Black people that they want to show and they want to perpetuate. And then we are watching because it's programming and we are following.
I come from the industry, and I will tell you that I come from the advertising and marketing. So let me tell you, if Black people did not consume that product, they would not put it out there. There's a market for it. Why don't you? No. That's my response. Because see, I come from the sales world, and I also come from the advertising and marketing world. See, the bottom line is this: at 5 years old, don't you say 35?
Yeah.
There's a movie called The Hollywood Shuffle, written by, who was it written by? Not Tommy Davidson. The guy that wrote Five Heartbeats, Robert Townsend. And the whole premise of the movie was a bunch of Black stereotypes. He was mocking blaxploitation films of the 70s. And that's the same argument that Black people made in the 70s. These are all the roles we have as pimps and maids and this and that. The whole premise of that movie was, if that's the only roles that are available, then we don't do them, because there's always work at the post office. Robert Townsend made that movie in 1989, and it stands to this day. If that's all that's written, we don't do the work. But the fact that we're willing to do the work makes us culpable, because there's always work at the post office.
Can I speak now?
Is that true or false?
Yes, that is true. And I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is, if we don't control what the image is that goes out, because we know since the beginning of time that
we control it because we take the roles.
There are certain people that are going to want certain things. So you're going to find everybody has a price. So certain people are going to
not really. Not really. Then why don't you see typical Black? Why don't you see typical?
Everybody has a price. So essentially, this woman is saying that because people are willing to accept the roles for a certain amount of money, that it's okay and it's justified for these false media representations and prejudices to be displayed in the media, and that everybody has their price to do these things. But as Kevin was saying, if people just didn't take these roles that were undermining Black people and putting Black people in a bad light and representing them falsely or in a way that they don't want to be represented, then these media representations wouldn't be there in the first place. She wants to justify it, saying that everybody has their price and everybody needs to get by, but then at the same token, she wants to say that they don't control it and that it's not their fault. Well, if people just didn't do the thing, then it wouldn't be seen. If people controlled how they represented themselves in public, this wouldn't be the case. So what she's saying just makes zero sense.
Typically see white A-list celebrity men have to be put in dresses.
Because it's a different standard, because they run it.
No, it's because they won't do it.
So you're saying that white supremacy.
I'm saying, let me explain something to you very simply. As an image consultant, that's what I do for a living. I'm a professional image consultant. Let me say this very clearly to you and to every other woman. How you leave your house is media. If you go from your door to wherever you're going, that is the world of TV. And if you weren't walking out with long fingernails and purple hair and all this other kind of stuff, they could not make it work. And even if they did try to make it work, if they tried to go get Latinas or somebody else and dress them up like Black women and make them look like stereotypical Black women, back in the 60s, when we didn't dress that way, they couldn't do that shit to us because we came out of our house looking better. That's why the civil rights movement worked, because they could not paint us as criminals and drug dealers. And when we were on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Black Sunday, you saw church-going people getting abused. That's why middle white America stood up and said, those people look like we. But if they'd been walking around, dressed around like we look today, nobody would have batted it out.
How do you think we got here today, though?
See, this is the thing with a lot of Black people. They don't want to take responsibility for their own image in public. They want to go out in the hoodies and the balaclavas and the do-rags and the bonnets and essentially looking raggedy, looking unkept, but they don't want to take responsibility for the kind of images and the kind of prejudices that inevitably raises with Caucasians or whoever it is they feel is oppressing them when they're out in public. So when they get falsely judged, prejudged, and then they get into these encounters with the law, they're saying, oh, why are you judging me? Why are you thinking I'm this? Why are you thinking I'm that? When if you just changed your image, then people would treat you differently. that would take too much self-reflection and responsibility. So a lot of these women just don't care.
Because we do it. It's self-accountability. It is self-accountability. How many of your sisters show up to this broadcast right here with bonnets on their head?
Okay, sir, but I didn't.
I didn't say you. See, that cannot be the argument. That cannot be the deflection. Every time I talk about the group, you talk about you.
And again, this is another thing with these women. They cannot get outside themselves. They cannot speak about generalizations because the only thing that matters to them is themselves. They don't want to speak about the general ethnic image of Black women. It always has to revolve around themselves. Nobody's saying that every single individual Black woman looks a certain way. Of course not. That's why the term prejudice exists, because it's not real information. It's prejudgment based on either false or real stereotypes. So for this woman to make the whole conversation revolve around herself is very telling.
You're deflecting because every time that you've sat here and you have said to me, you gave me a list of the things that you've done. You have said to me all of your points, and every time I go to talk, you either cut me off or you say I'm deflecting. What I'm saying to you is every person that you had on the show does not account for every Black woman. I did not.
Can I say it different? What do you think you're doing right now? What do you think you're doing right now? What do you think you're doing right now? What do you think you're doing right now?
I'm trying to speak.
What do you think you're doing right now? What do you think this is doing to the image of Black women?
What are you? I'm showing you something different. What you're saying?
No, you're really
Black
not.
women. Sir, you won't even let me finish my point though. You're saying we might have a conversation. You gave me your talking points. I allowed you to speak. You said I was over talking you. I shut up and I allowed you to talk. Now I'm trying to say my points to counter what you were saying, and you're not allowing me to talk because you're talking over me. So I'm asking if you can give me the same respect that I just gave you, sir. That would be much appreciated. So back to the point of the imagery. There are 8 billion people on this planet, and there are certain people that are going to go. There are certain demographics that they shoot for, and they want to keep in that place. Them being white people, white execs who run these stations, who say these are the roles that we have for Black people. In order to get to a certain standard as a Black man, you have to do A, B, C, and D. Otherwise, because there's a ton of actors who are amazing actors who didn't get anywhere because they wouldn't fall in line. Same with Black women, the image of Black women. I am not included. I am nothing like that. I'm an educated Black woman. I was married in my 20s. I have 3 children.
30 seconds.
Okay.
What is with Kevin and these annotations, man?
Well, either way, I'm showing you that there is something different, is all.
Mm-hmm. And what you just went on for 2.5 minutes was the very image that Black women perpetuated for the longest. And I just let it go.
The angry Black woman, or
and now you just cut me off. You just cut me off now.
All right.
I can sit there and hold it. You're not. First off, you're not in control of anything. You're not in control of anything. You're not in control of anything. I just went for 2.5 minutes. But see, what I'm just showing is all this masculine, aggressive energy. There's a way to get your point across and still be a lady, feminine.
It's masculine energy because I'm
and I will let the audience decide, ladies and gentlemen. When you saw her going on for 2.5 minutes and this, is that the image you think that's helping Black women?
Were you paying attention to anything I was saying?
I went on for 2. See, what you're going to do is let me speak, or I'm going to bid you a good evening.
No, well, we can say good night. Good night.
Well, you can say good night. I'm still going to say what I got to say about you.
You might want to be. Have a beautiful night.
Cry baby bunting, as is typical with many women. When you don't get your way, cry, kick up a fuss, and evade responsibility. See, this is the thing. And here's the bottom line with this conversation with women and in general. The disturbing thing about a lot of this is that ultimately, with a lot of these women, namely Black women, you see that you get this general undertone that they don't really care about the reality of the situation. All they care about their emotions. And ultimately, the bottom line is they don't really take this seriously. They don't really care about the ethnic image, and life is just a joke to them. How they're making their money, how they're representing themselves in public, how they're representing the community in public is all just one big joke. And that's the real disturbing thing about all of this. It's the fact that a lot of the time this stuff isn't even taken seriously. You can just tell by the kind of things they say, the kind of expressions they have, the laughing, the joking. It's not for, as a man looking at it, and maybe as a Black man looking at it, this isn't funny, because this is the real life image of woman that we're having to deal with. And when you get them arguing, complaining, it's hard to have any genuine dialogue because of this. It all just turns into one big mess.
Say what you want to say, but you're no different than the rest. And that's the point. The educated of them still think that they're better. No, ma'am, you are the problem too. Because all that bullshit that you ran down, the white executive, this and that, Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry built a billion-dollar film industry, still on tropes about black people. Spike Lee. Spike Lee didn't have to play the tropes. He played against the tropes. See, accountability is like kryptonite. And I'm not like these women. Oh, yes, you are. There is no other group of women that identifies with what you just saw other than African-American women. Click, 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 click. And I just let her go. To see what she thought she was doing when she was checking me. I'm just sitting there reeling her in. I'm like, I'll let you go. I'll let you keep digging and digging and digging. And when it got right down to it, she ran out of steam because there was all emotion, no logic, no accountability. It ain't our fault. It is our fault. Don't take the roles. Chinese, Asian people stopped taking the roles of coolies and all that stuff, and they started making their own films or rejecting the films with the notion that there's always somebody that will do it.
Exactly.
It's still our responsibility. This is why men should be in control, because all that emotion gets nothing.
Precisely. Right. Well, that was the end of that. Thank you guys for watching. If you appreciate the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and share it if you'd like. And hopefully we'll see you in another video. Take care for now. Goodbye.